Long live play.
Hello and welcome to the 45th episode of Long Live Play, the #1 Australian PlayStation podcast full of lukewarm takes and mental breaks, hosted by myself, Govinda Whitehurst, and the Donald to my Goofy, Mr. Khayl Adam. If you like what you hear, you can and should review us on Apple Podcasts or follow us on Instagram and Twitter at LongLivePod. I have added our YouTube to our link tree on both of those socials. You can find us on YouTube at Long Live Play if you dig deep enough. With that out of the way, Khayl, how you going?
Oh, Govinda, how the turntables have turned. Here I was, just a carefree young man, enjoying my freedoms, my liberties, and, you know, you go to sleep one day, you wake up the next, you're in COVID quarantine. And that's where I find myself right now.
I feel like this is a little bit misleading, because while you're in COVID quarantine, it's not for your COVID, correct?
I do keep getting called out for this. I tried to take that kind of credit on Twitter, and yes, my poor COVID-afflicted wife, Erin, called me out quite publicly, I think, that I did not mention that she is in fact the one that has COVID, not me.
You seem to really be trying to get all of the sympathy from people when you yourself are actually living your dream life, because when I got COVID, you were dreaming of getting COVID so you can not work for a little while. And so you've still got the not work for a little while part while not actually having COVID, which in my mind is the best of both worlds. Yet you refuse to acknowledge that you are not COVID afflicted yourself.
I feel like the timer is ticking. You cannot cohabitate such a small space in a relationship and not become afflicted. Like, you were able to avoid it, or sorry, at least your roommates, your family were able to avoid it. That's what we're calling your family now, your roommates.
Yeah, I was gonna say, me and my brother and my sister-in-law that I live with, they were able to avoid it, but I'm relatively self-contained, whereas you do sleep in the same bed as your wife, presumably. I don't know. I don't want to.
Not all the time.
I don't want to put that on you.
not all the time.
So, how's that going for you?
I mean, look, it's what, day 2, I guess, so fine. It's fine. Just...
You were in a bit of a mood when I spoke to you earlier today. You were
strangely
grumpy considering you weren't doing anything.
I don't know what it was. I was tired. You know, I stayed up pretty late. For no reason.
Yeah. Okay, well, cool.
Yeah, that's me. I live in a bubble now. I don't know what the outside world is like. I mean, that being said, I gotta take my dog for a walk this afternoon, so I'm gonna do the awkward, like... I'm allowed to do that, right? Don't give me that look. I take a mask.
You can do whatever you want, dude.
You're allowed to. It's outdoor
look,
exercise.
You live in a town where you all essentially pretend that COVID isn't real anyway, so you can kind of just do whatever you want.
That's true. You're allowed to take your animal for an exercise. What else is he gonna do? He's just gonna freak out.
Look, I think you're fine. And it's not like you're going to be close to anyone on your walk. It's so quiet. Like you could walk for 2 hours and not be close to someone if you really wanted to. So I think you'll be fine.
It is one of those things though where, like, if we just run him around the block and like you look like shit and you just threw on a shirt or something, you will run into someone then. It's like one of those walks, like,
and what you need to do is just, if you see anyone walking in your direction or getting close to you, start coughing aggressive, like really ham it up, and they'll probably just cross the road and you'll be fine.
I think that's the move. I think yeah.
I think the real question I have is how did she get COVID? Because from what I know, she works at home, and you both don't leave home. And when you do leave home, it's like to go for a walk on the beach, where you can not really close to anyone, open air. No. You're not like going to bars and in close proximity with anyone really at any point other than yourselves.
It's very odd. We've basically narrowed it down to she pretty much hadn't left the house in 5 days because, again, she works from home. She's very secure here. It's just her and the dog. No human interaction, but she did go to Hastings Street, which is a very popular tourist place.
Look it up, Hastings Street news. It's hectic and expensive.
It was just a quick 2-hour coffee, I think, and that's got to be it. That's got to be the.
That's got to be it. I guess it's easier to narrow it down when you don't do anything else.
But it's so shocking that I didn't get it. Like, I'm at the moment negative. I've had 2 tests. Both negative, but it does feel like it's closing in.
Maybe the blood clots are protecting you.
My blood clots?
Yeah, didn't you get the bad backs?
Bad bags. Yeah, right. Look.
It's gotten to the point now where I don't remember the names of them. I'm like, what did I get? I got the Pfizer. I got the Pfizer. What'd you get?
AstraZeneca.
That's
Yeah,
the one I was looking
the bad
for.
bags.
That's why. That's why I just said the blood clots.
I will say though, I am copping some heat because of course I didn't get my booster. So I've just been like, I just kept putting it off. I was like, COVID's done. We're fine. I don't need it anymore.
Neither did I, and partly because. Well, look, I can. Partly because I didn't know where I heard it, and then I realized I heard it on a podcast. But I waited after I had COVID. I assumed I had to wait like a few months or a couple of months before I could get my booster, because you can't have it too close to the COVID thing. But I didn't know where I got the information from until I was listening to a podcast the other day, and then they said it again, and I was like, oh, it was from this podcast that I heard that, which is not scientific at all, just hearsay.
Yeah. Misinformation, they call it.
Misinformation. But with all these strains popping up out of nowhere, what's the point? You know?
It is weird. I was reading this morning about X2, which is it's actually not even new. Apparently, it was detected in January in the UK, but it's again a step up from, because there was Omicron, and then there was the 0.2 variant.
I never saw. I don't even know. I turned off after Omicron. I just turned it off.
We got that here in Australia. That kind of took over, and then now there's this X2, which is apparently like even more virulent and more contagious. But again, I think
it XE?
X2. You might be right.
Maybe there might be another one. I don't know. I saw another one that was sent to me called XE, and I was like, I'm done now. It's fine. Whatever it is.
Sounds like fucking Elon Musk's kid's name or something.
I do have a doctor's appointment to get my skin checked, like in 2 weeks, next week. So maybe I'll see. I'll call them and see if I can do the booster then. I don't know.
Oh, just throw in a booster while you're getting your little ziddles.
It's just one of those things where they're like, oh yeah, get vaccinated, and you get vaccinated, and they're like, okay, there's a new strain, it's useless.
Yeah, it is a little disheartening. It is all
but
of
if
it.
you get a booster, it'll be better. I'm like, okay, fuck, I guess I'll do that.
We've had such a wild time here. It's like, well, you and I have been over this before, but like the whole concept of checking in, and then once it was revealed that the government wasn't using it, or like even storing that data, it was just like this weird exercise.
Yeah, it was weird, because it was just so that people could then check your vaccination status, because the little green tick pops up. But also, we're recording this on the Wednesday, but as of the day before you're listening to this, the 14th of April, that's no longer a requirement at all anywhere for anyone at any point. They don't have to check vaccination status.
That's pretty wild.
That's why I just think it's over. Like, it's over. Well, let's look at it now as like the flu. Get your vaccinations if you want to. Get boosted if you want to. It's just like, at this point, it's, you know.
It is fascinating because it is becoming like the cold, but when you get the cold, you aren't legally required to stay home for a week.
It's less like the cold and more like the flu, I guess. And you usually, when you get the flu, if you've ever had it before, it puts you down. So it's not like you don't really get a choice. You just are down until you feel better.
It is.
And that's kind of COVID.
It's pretty tough for me because I don't even know that I've ever had the flu. I've never really been sick. So if I do get this thing, and at this point I don't even believe it's capable of infecting my body. I think it's too powerful. It's too resilient.
Your body is too powerful, yeah.
But if I do get it, I'm going to be such a baby about it. Like, I've already been peeing around. Like, it's going to be aggressive how much, like, how needy I'm going to become. And
well, it sounds like, from what I was hearing before we recorded, that Erin is being quite needy herself. So.
She's actually being a little trooper. She was pretty sick
No. Don't backpedal now that we're on the air and she listens. You were telling me she was being needy.
I never said that. I never said that. I said she was being wonderful. Always.
That's not what you said, but who cares? Anyway, I'm shook that they're still talking about COVID at this point. It feels like 44 weeks ago in our first episode where we were talking about COVID, and here we are almost a year later still talking about COVID.
Wow, it's almost like this thing's here to stay. Govinda, how you going?
We've established it. We talk about it.
I like to throw it back on you because I know you've got nothing.
Yeah, I never do. I always make sure that you do, and then I'm like, how am I going? Look, I'm going alright, and then I finished Elden Ring, and then I started playing Horizon Forbidden West, and that's what I've been playing. What have you been playing?
Just go straight into what have you been playing. That's...
I have nothing to report on my life. I exist in this room. I do work sometimes when work's quiet. Me and Khayl play Destiny in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
It's
so depressing. It's so bleak.
It's not bleak. It's just it's really just uneventful. Is the best way I can describe it. I am going away in 2 weeks for a
Where are
wedding.
you going?
Going to Victoria for a wedding.
Oh, that's
I'm gonna wear a
exciting.
suit. I'm going to be excited about that long weekend, which is also the month of April for anyone in Queensland. It's a very good month because we just have like 3 or 4 long weekends like back to back to back. Which is
Yeah, we got that old
awesome.
Anzac Day. Woo. Respect.
Anzac Day, Easter, and Labor Day. 3 long weekends in a month. How did we get so lucky?
I don't know. That's I'm jealous. I miss Melbourne. That's a good time. You going to Melbourne?
No. So it's in Victoria. It's 3.5 hours north of Melbourne. Right. So
Right.
I'm not going to be in Melbourne at all, to be totally honest, except for landing in an airport, getting in a car and driving with a bunch of people. So
That's fun though. You're gonna get a little drunk, cut a little rug, go a little dancing, a little suit.
I'll definitely have a suit. I don't fit into my suit anymore, so I'm borrowing my brother's suit.
You little in the belly, a little tight in the belly.
Well, funnily enough, no. So as we've spoken about, you don't believe I go to the gym, but I do.
don't.
And I think my shoulders have gotten broader because when I put on my suit, my sleeves were so short, and I walked out to my brother and was like, "What? Did my arms get longer? Like, what the fuck is happening?" Then I realized the shoulders went wider, which then made the sleeve shorter. So no, I don't fit into my suit. The belly was part of it too.
Yeah, look.
The belly was part of it too. I put the button on, and I was like, "That's not gonna fly." But my brother's suit fits me very nicely, so I'll be in that.
Well.
Which is pretty chill.
The problem is now we've got 3 weeks until this happens, and I guess we'll just talk about this every week as we get closer to the day.
I won't bring it up again. I won't even tell you how it went on the other side. I'm just here, just like hoping I don't get COVID again before this happens. And now I feel like I'm almost destined to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm scared. Because your household has COVID. 2 of my other friends' households, one's getting over COVID, another one's going into COVID. It seems like the government doesn't talk about it anymore, so it feels like it's not a thing, but it seems like it's more prevalent than ever in my life. So, fingers crossed.
When we pulled up to it was the first time I'd done like one of those drive-through testings, and yeah, there was like multiple cars behind us, and it was like 9 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. I was like, this is weird. Like, I didn't realize there was this much demand in our small town. Like, it's certainly around.
Talk about it anymore, Khayl.
No, it's not done. We don't talk about this one in society. We just deal with it. And lock away
Pretend it's
the
not there and keep on living and coughing all over everybody. Khayl, what have you played?
So, several things, and we're going to get into it in a little while. Chrono Cross, picked it up. Not loving the experience, Govinda. I will leave that for once we inevitably get to the quickfire news, but it does not perform well, and we're going to discuss that.
Yeah, I actually watched a little bit of that Digital Foundry thing that you'll bring up at some point in the near future. Looks average, looks lazy, is maybe the best way I could put it.
Lazy devs, you know? That's just a constant
They
thing.
did stuff. Things are good. They didn't completely pan it in the Digital Foundry thing, but they mostly panned it.
I mean, look, let's talk about it now. We can catch it up later, but the interesting thing was I was shook by the way this game reviewed. It reviewed very, very well, and in fact, it was only my beloved Push Square, Mr. Robert Ramsey, who was honest. He gave this thing a 4 out of 10. He slammed it. He said it was just disgusting on a technical level. It actually runs worse on a PS5. Oh, sorry, the PS4 version on a PS5 than the original PS1 game did. It has a lower frame rate than the PS1 version of
How's
this
that possible?
game.
What's the frame? It's also not even like 4K. Like most of like the
No, it's just
the
up-res.
upscaled. Well, like a lot of the character models that have been upscaled and stuff are like 900p and stuff. So kind of meh, honestly.
I don't...
We leave it for now. We'll loop back around in the quickfire when it comes up, but not a great experience so far. Which is I didn't get it because I saw it was bad. That's kind of why I didn't bother playing
It was interesting. I had a bit of a discourse on Twitter about it. Like, I think a lot of reviewers were dishonest with this one. Like, I scrolled through like 7 or 8 reviews. Very few of them even mentioned like frame rate or the technical aspects of the game, which blows my mind because as someone that fucking I like the science of a review, and that aspect is not, you know, like we talk about like, oh, it's just your opinion, like reviews are objective things. Technical performance is not subjective, it's objective. Like, we can measure it.
Yeah, but reviewers aren't measuring technical performance. Like, Digital Foundry, that's literally their job, is to measure technical performance. But reviewers, like, some people don't pick up on things that you might pick up on as devil's advocate.
Yeah, I don't know if that cuts it, though, because it's your job, as you should be a professional if you're reviewing this game for a publication. Like, okay, maybe you don't realize that, but then you're not good at what you're doing. That's fine.
I guess, but it's... Like, what sort of frame rate do you need for this game, really? Like, do you need 60 frames a second for this game to...
No, definitely
to be
not.
what it is?
You would need, I would say, like, even a consistent 20. As grim as that fucking sounds, like a consistent 20 would be fine. This drops to 4. And it's wild. It's so up and down. Like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but if you can't notice this, like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, okay, that's bad.
With your mind. Like, it's so aggressive. And I'm talking, like,
when
the biggest...
I didn't know, like, the details. When you were saying bad frame rate and stuff, I was like, what? It's like dropping, like, 25 frames a second off 60? Or, like, what's the...
I think
yeah, that's bad.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but, like, at a high, it's not reaching 60. That's never happening. Like, it's like...
That's really bad for a game that is from the PS1 era.
They're really bad at this, Square Enix. They're not great at these little remasters.
Remasters, yeah.
But they got my money, and now I guess I just wait for a patch, like, and hope. This happened when they...
Hope is the key.
When they brought Chrono Trigger, like, to iPad or whatever it was the same thing. It just, like, somehow ran worse than on a Super Nintendo. Like, what happened? What happened along the way?
It's infinitely more powerful. What's going on?
Outside of that, though, Crusader Kings 3 has snuck up on me, because now I got free time, and I'm in it. I'm doing the spreadsheets. Govinda, I'm guiding my dynasties.
I also started playing it.
Which is a fascinating experiment. This happened today. I challenged Govinda to make it through the tutorial. Govinda, how many minutes do you think you lasted?
30.
Oh, it's more than I would have expected.
My concern now is I stopped it and I just quit the game, and I couldn't save it because I was still in a tutorial. So I couldn't hit the save button, and now my concern is if I go back in, if I'm still in that area of the tutorial, if I've gone all the way back to the beginning. That's my fear. It does... Okay, so I got to a bit, and maybe you can actually help me here. I got to a bit in the tutorial where it's like, okay, let's get married. And so it tells you, like, go find someone, hit square on the thing, and, like, you can either do an arranged marriage or whatever it is.
A matrilineal marriage. What's that mean, Govinda? What's a matrilineal marriage?
Just stop. And I didn't know where to find someone to hit square on so I could marry them. I didn't know, it didn't tell you that. It just said, go find someone and hit square, and then you can marry them. But I couldn't find someone
so
to
what
hit
you
square
do,
on.
You go to your own character, you push square on them, and then it'll be like either arranged marriage or find spouse. You want to actually find a spouse, because that means it'll be a foreign lady, whereas an arranged marriage will be someone from your own court. I know way too much about this game.
No, that's helpful, because it wasn't super clear. It just said, like, hit square on a character, and I didn't realize it was on my character. Maybe I was just misreading it. Oh, I can keep doing it. We'll see how it goes. It is interesting, because
I'd like to see how you go. It's quite cool, the things that happen in this game.
As you were telling me, and it mentions it in the tutorial, but there is no winning this game.
No,
it tells you explicitly, like, there's no win condition. You just keep on going. Like, it's the story that you build along the way and the things that you do.
I don't know, it's a fascinating game. I think it's, like, truly one of the deepest games I've ever played. And it doesn't... Like, there is a tutorial, but even that... I feel like it's the kind of game where you play it for 50 hours and you just start to get your head around it. It's kind of like, even more so, but like kind of like Civilization 6.
I was going to say, yeah.
You need a lot of time just to even, like, understand what's happening, like...
Well, especially for, like, Civilization, if you don't get deeper into, like, the game, you won't even know certain mechanics exist until you come across them for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, air combat doesn't exist until you get to a point where you can build an airport. And so you're like, oh, this is new and different. So, look, I can get through the tutorial. I don't question it.
Wait. You're going to run into the exact same thing that happened with me, which was like you kind of get your head around it. Maybe you restart a few times. You have a good character. You sort of like conquer some territory. Maybe you like get lucky with some inheritances. You have a bit of land and you're like, all right, this is cool. This is going well. And this whole time you're building your dynasty. You've got multiple kids. Your character dies, and then you suddenly get hit by partition, which is your succession law. I didn't know this, but the whole point of the game is you want to be working away from this partition thing, which what it does is it divides all your lands up between your kids, and you only get to play as one of them. So suddenly you're the eldest son.
Yep.
And you've
lost like a quarter of your, or like 2/4 of your land.
And it's shockingly realistic, and suddenly all your brothers are now your worst enemies because they all want the land back, and so do you. And so you just have
it's
this
interesting because I just went through the succession thing, and they start talking about how like you could die of some random accident that happens, and then you get succeeded by your successor, and you find out that they actually caused your demise.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. They had you killed and shit like that. So look, it's interesting to me. Who knows how long I'll play it for? But it's we'll see how it goes. I'll get through the tutorial at least.
I will recommend you how I play this game, which is slightly tipsy, just totally sprawled out like an animal whilst I listen to Game of Thrones on audiobook.
Show me you
and it's
interesting
the
that
best.
you say that. It's
the
interesting that you
best.
say that. So I paused my Audible subscription for ages, and then I forgot about it, and I was like, fuck, they were still billing me for like the last couple of months. They were billing me for it, and I had 2 tokens left, so I just got the first 2 Game of Thrones audiobooks,
yes,
just because I was like, I need
very
to use them before I cancel it. So I guess I could do that too.
You should. They're really good. I forget how fucking good those books are.
I still, and I know you probably still don't agree with me because you were yelling at me before, but I still think it'd be perfect for remote play. And just to tie into the remote play, I only say that because I was remote playing Horizon Forbidden West last night, and it was like away from home, and it was surprisingly fine. Like I had no problems with it. It worked fine. My only big problem was I was hotspotting off my phone, and it was chewing my data.
Yeah, fair.
But I'm on 5G, so maybe that's why it was particularly good, but I felt there was very little input delay that was noticeable to me, or that was like affecting what I was doing. But that ties in nicely with that I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West also.
It is nice.
Since the Elden Ring has been completed.
And how did you go this time? Did you remember how to play it?
I do. I've been playing it for a little while, so I definitely remember how to play it. I would like to. I'd like to send a little apology your way because we spoke about torrent and controls and the controls of the mount in Horizon Forbidden West, and it's so bad in Horizon.
I know. I appreciate that. When we were having the discussion at the time, I was thinking that neither of us have played Forbidden West. It's been too long.
Stuck on trees. There's one thing that it does that I actually do think is kind of nice, but could be better. But when you're on your mount, if you just like triple tap or double tap X to go faster, the mount just stays on the track.
Yeah, that is cool. That's
which is
like
quite nice. The problem I have is that when you get to a fork in the road, it just makes a decision. It doesn't follow the quest marker that you're going to. It just makes a decision, and half the time it's wrong. And correcting it is super janky. Like you overcorrect every time, and then you're in a tree and you get stuck in a tree and you're like, God damn it. And I just missed the jump. I missed the horse jump so much from Torrent, from Elden Ring, because that comes in so heavy so often.
And it's hard too, because I think we spoke about this last week, but like the bar has been set by Red Dead Redemption 2, where like it is automated. The horse just, it's the same thing. It'll follow the road, but it'll actually know to go to the waypoints. So we have this. That's the benchmark. We shouldn't be like doing automation that doesn't go to your waypoint.
It's true. I'm wondering if, you know how you can choose your exploration mode and if it's like guided or not?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I swapped and had actual mini-map up with a waypoint, if it would actually follow that a little bit nicer. I don't know. But the instant pickup of things off the ground is such a game changer. Honestly. I'm so glad you told me that setting, because I was like, oh, this is night and day.
So
I'd bump it half a point on my review score just for that. Still, if you're like looting a corpse of a machine, you have to hold down the button to loot everything. But things that are just like on the ground, like plants and stuff, instant hits. It's such a good thing. Now, I will say, this game looks so good, and I actually can't get over how fucking good it looks. And it does something I've never seen in the game before, which I think we saw in one of the trailers early on. But it actually renders like waves. Like crashing waves.
I noticed this too when I was playing. Yeah, like they look pretty good.
They're not the best thing in the world, but from what I know, that is a very difficult thing to do in games, and I don't think I've ever seen a game that actually does actual waves other than like surfing games, and that's like core mechanic. And so it's just kind of a nice thing, but it just looks so good.
It's one of those things you don't really notice until you see it, and then you're like, holy shit, that's really impressive.
What is this? Yeah. So look, I'm really enjoying it still. I'm just puttering along, getting all my upgrades, killing so many innocent animals. Insane how many innocent animals I have to kill to get the upgrades that I need. But I killed like 14 pelicans yesterday just because they deserved it. Pelicans are mean birds, and I don't feel bad about that one at all.
I'm in real life a little bit intimidated by pelicans still.
You should be.
And I know I could fuck one up. Like, if I could get my hands on its neck, I could absolutely wring the living shit out of
Big
it. But
if.
yeah, I don't know that I
That's
could get past its nightmarish mouth.
Exactly. I think the same thing about geese. Like, I'm like, I could kill a goose if I could grab the neck, right? But it's about getting to that neck, and they're mean and scary. But once you've got them, you just give them a good whack, you know, like.
It's the aggression factor. I see this with Leon when he goes up against bigger dogs. Like, they should just be able to bite him in half, but he's game and he's loud, and that intimidates them. Like, it's very intense when something seems to not fear pain or death.
But yeah, I've been playing Horizon. There is something that you unlock towards the end of the game that it kind of got spoiled for me, and I won't necessarily spoil it, but it's like a way to traverse the world.
Oh, it's the it's when you get the Ford Focus.
Dude, you ruined it. You fuck, dude.
It's crazy that you get a little second-hand Ford Focus.
You find an old world Ford Focus that's still functional. It's so
crazy.
Sorry about the spoilers, everyone. But I realized that, and so instead of me doing any side quests, I've started to just beeline the story aggressively, so that when I do get this, it's not just something I go, oh, this is really cool, but I finished the game and I platinumed it, so I'm not going to use it anymore. And I'll be able to use it to platinum with this game. You know
I think I know what you're talking about, and it's kind of an annoying trend in modern games that you're almost incentivized to do the main quest, and because you unlock everything, and then you go deal with the open world.
Which is conflicting because obviously all of the quests are leveled.
Yeah, so you're totally overpowered.
You're incentivized to do those quests in a certain level, but then also you don't want to get to the end of the game to get this special thing that you can't use because you've already finished everything. But it's fine. I'm happy to do a little cleanup once I get through the story, and I feel like there's still like special things I'll need. You know, like you need to go through the story to get certain items and certain equipment, and so I might as well just get it all and then just go through them and clean up. That's a classic like chuck a podcast into a clean up vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's basically my gaming these days. I listen to something while I just mindlessly do shit. Elden Ring was so good for that. Like, sort of in the cleanup. That was a really good podcast experience. And we're both back on the horse. We're both playing a little Destiny 2. How did this come about? How did this take place?
Well, we've spoken about this last week. You're so bad at this thing. Your memory of the goldfish is actually a detriment to us. So, again, like we spoke about last week, we were playing the Witch Queen DLC of Destiny 2.
We hadn't really played then, though. We'd just done, like, the first part of that first mission, right?
Yeah, well, we thought we were going to have to do the whole thing again, but
Yeah.
we didn't, because there was a checkpoint, thankfully.
Since then, we've probably played, like, 5 or 6 hours.
We played much more to the point where I had my Warlock, and we went through a whole bunch with my Warlock, and then I was like, I want to play my Hunter, and then we redid everything again with my Hunter.
Yeah,
Which was probably not a bad play. We needed to level up.
We're doing better now, but it's fun. It's kind of like just what the doctor ordered for me at the moment. Like, just something that's not as all-consuming as Elden Ring. And
I think you nailed it last week when you said it's really reminding me of legendary Halo. Like
yeah,
that level of challenge, and that's like we're on this bit now that is just aggressively difficult, and we got so close before we started recording, and then
so annoying.
We died, and we were like, we're done. This is it for now. We'll come back later.
Maybe and it's actually the second time we've had to do that. Like, get all the way to the end of the stage, and then be like, we're not powerful enough. Let's stop and go do other things, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well,
that's
literally, the last time we stopped to do other things, we redid all of the missions again with my Hunter.
Yeah, that's right. So we're not going to do that again. But that being said, I'm definitely going to get the season pass. So I'm going to make that announcement right here.
Did you decide that within the last hour of your day?
Since we've just been talking, it's just been percolating in the back. Like we said, we're back in. We've given it another 6 or 7 hours. They've earned $15 from me, I think.
No, they haven't, because you paid $50 for the DLC.
La 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 la.
I'm not listening. This is the problem I have with Destiny, is that they're like, hey, it's $50 for this DLC. And you're like, okay, that's like half a game again, so this better be a big DLC. And then they're like, also, $15 for a season pass. Well, okay, well now I'm essentially just buying a AAA game again. Like, what the fuck, dude?
I'd be interested to know what my hours played is in this.
It'd be hard. I wonder if it'll tell you retroactively.
Like your PS4 hours.
Yeah. I wonder if it'll tell you that as well. Because if you go to, like, you obviously go to PS5, you can see how long you played a game for. I wonder if it'll look back and see. Because I don't think I played a crazy amount. Like, I want to say 100 and plus hours, maybe just.
Oh, it's got to be more than that. I remember, like...
You'd hope so, considering how much fucking money I've sunk into this game.
Look, it's fun. We're going to go play it after this. You know it. God damn, you know it.
Yay! Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to, but I didn't want to push it, because I know that you're weird, and you're in a weird mood today, so I didn't want to push it.
I'm in a good mood.
So
Stop telling me I'm in a bad mood.
No, you're in a bad mood, and I think the more I say it, the more it's going to manifest. Let's move along, Khayl. We got things to do, like play more Destiny.
What do you want to like hear about? Some quickfire news? Govinda, Tom Morgan of Digital Foundry fame said, and I quote, "Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers Edition is one of the worst performing games I've ever seen on PS4. End quote.
Surely it cannot be worse than Cyberpunk 2077 release on PS4.
In its own way, it is. It's just more disappointing because it shouldn't be this bad. It shouldn't be
because
this.
It's not a next-gen game that's been downscaled to just somehow work on a PS4. It's a PS1 game that they were like, let's try and get this working.
It's crazy. And again, I challenge anyone listening, just go read some reviews for this game, and it's like, it's a fucking roll of the dice as to whether it's even mentioned. People are so blinded by nostalgia for this thing. And I like this game, like, and I love Chrono Trigger, but you've got to put things in a box. Like, you're allowed to say that this runs like shit, and it's also still your favorite game.
Does it perform?
I'm getting really steamed a bit, but sorry.
Does it perform as badly in classic mode?
Yeah.
Because you can swap between classic and remastered.
Yeah, it's not really a difference as far as I know.
Like performance-wise, it's as bad, which is
no. Actually, to
be
totally fair, I didn't like. I just swapped a couple of times. I didn't really like test it
because maybe in classic mode it's just more stable and better. I didn't watch the whole Digital Foundry like review, whatever analysis of it. I did watch parts of it where they talk about how the background has been upscaled with AI and how it's super lazy and it makes it all look blurry and washed out and things not super clear. And from what I was seeing, it does look kind of shitty. Sometimes like I don't mind the way it looks, but it does look almost like watercolory, kind of weird.
That's their art style.
Smearing.
Yeah.
No, like, did you watch the Digital Foundry thing?
Not all of it. Not all of it. I actually usually don't.
So they talk about how they use AI to upscale these pre-rendered backgrounds that they have, these 2D backgrounds that they had in the game. And there are mods for other games, other old PS1 games that do AI rendering, but the idea of AI upscaling is that you should be able to teach the AI to do it accurately and better.
Yeah.
And what they're talking about is how like it looks like Square Enix didn't do any of that. They just chucked on the AI upscaling and were like, that'll do, and then just shipped it out that way. Where there's modders online that do it with other games and they do it so much better. Like they actually just put in a little bit of time to teach the AI to correctly do it.
Yeah.
And they get much better results. But they said the characters look nice.
This is a fact that I just had to confirm for myself, and it makes me even more furious. Apparently, the reason that the game is in the states that it is because Square Enix lost the original source code, and so they sort of have to piece this together.
Yeah, well,
which makes me even more annoyed because they still charge. To be fair, I think it was like a $20 game or something. Maybe it was $30.
Okay, it's not too bad. That is sad. But it makes sense. It's so easy to just be like, who has that hard drive with the game?
Yeah, from 2000.
Where'd I go? Like, yeah,
from the year 2000.
So look, that's disappointing. Hopefully they can fix it because I would like to play it. I hear it's very good, and I would like to give it a go. But I'd like to have a nicer experience if I'm going to do that. So,
as always, the gulf between critics and fans is cavernous. It's currently sitting at an 80 Metascore for critics. It's currently sitting at a 40 for users.
So it's still about a 6 right now. I'm going to call it. I like to split the difference.
That's not how that works, but
that's how it works for me.
You do you.
What do we got next?
So the next one is, we have a new Tomb Raider game, Govinda. It has been announced. We don't know anything else, except that it will be developed on Unreal Engine 5, which is the hot new thing. The hot new thing, and everything is being developed on it, apparently.
Can I be honest with you? This is going to sound bad.
Here we go. This is going to be offensive.
I don't care about Tomb Raider. I played the first new Tomb Raider, loved it, had a great time.
Yeah.
I think I played the first 6 hours of the next one, and I played the first, like, 2 hours of the one after that, and like
Zone C.
progressively I just
You
cared
have
less and
zone
less and less, and
advantage.
I don't care.
I will say the second one was my favorite. I love the
Zone
first
A
two.
lost.
The third one I've played the first few hours of it 3 times, and I keep intending to go back to it because I kind of like it. It's like the fucking Arkham game we couldn't think of. Arkham Origins. Arkham Origins.
That's
Yeah,
one.
it's
I
like,
did remember it like right after we recorded.
yeah, it's like the Black Sheep where it was developed by a different team, slightly different
Captured zone
configuration
And
or
it's like
something.
Zone
kind of
advantage is yours.
pseudo open world,
A little bit. Yeah, it's got like the map anyway.
crafting and stuff.
But
Like,
I-
I don't know, it just felt weird.
I don't dislike it, and that's the problem. I think the third one is just weird enough to put a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So, I don't know. I think I could be pulled back in with a focused sort of relaunch in this.
Look, if that's what it is, maybe. I don't know what. Well, I did see something where the developer said that we need to stop having Lara Croft just have daddy issues the whole time.
Zone
I
A
did see that
Because-
floating around.
Zone advantage
A lot of it is
yours.
just her being like, "Where's my dad? What did he do?" Dad. I'm like, no, just do her own story. She's her own archaeologist now. She can do her own thing. I
Don't
just
be
don't know what it
lost.
is. Because it's in the first game, I was like, this is just like a sick Uncharted. And in many ways, it was improved. Like, they did better things than
Yeah.
Uncharted does. And I just don't know what, like, the second game, I just didn't finish it. I just stopped playing and I lost interest. Maybe something else came out, I don't know. But I just don't really care.
I will say, on the daddy issue thing, that's a bit pedantic. Yeah, I think we all love
Zone
fucking
advantage
Batman.
is yours.
What is that dude if not daddy and parent issues? We're fine to rehash that old story.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of over that too, though. Like,
Yeah, we
like,
still
just-
go see it though.
Well, like, I think for Tomb Raider specifically, right, you
Don't
can just
see
be like, I'm planning this thing, I'm going to do this thing, like, I'm going to save the world for this reason, rather than just trying to find your dad or follow something that your dad told you. It just seems
It's a just because
rehashing it.
I don't know where else we would ever put this in, but I saw the new Spider-Man. I,
5 minutes.
It was a good movie, yeah.
it was a good movie. Yeah.
No, you can't deny the Tom Holland Spider-Mans are easily the best Spider-Mans. Though I did see something about, I don't know his name, but the director of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans being like, I
Raimi?
would definitely... Yes, that was it, yep.
Yeah.
No, just Raimi, last name Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi, that's the one. I saw Sam Raimi say he would definitely do another Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and I would secretly be so down. Hear me out, just quick pitch. Old Spider-Man, it's just like the classic. You've heard it before. I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is pretty much the story, but it's just old Spider-Man teaching Miles Morales how to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I think it'd be perfect. I
And
think
that's
it's
cool.
Tobey Maguire, you know?
I will say, we don't need. I don't know. Does anyone not know the spoiler for that movie? Like, it was spoiled for me, and we'll just leave it out. But fucking
Maybe
hell,
just don't worry about it, but it's a good movie.
if anything, like, what a
Captured
fucking
Zone B.
nostalgia
You
trigger
have
that
advantage.
was. It was like keyed
Oh, yeah.
in for like our age. It's just like hitting you with all these different things.
It's hard to like not ruin it for people when they
I know.
ask you questions like, should I have seen the other Spider-Mans? I'm like, what do you mean by that? And they're like, like the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield. I'm like, you need to know that they existed, and it's recommended that you've seen them.
I'll go on record and say that Andrew Garfield is my Spider-Man. I think he is my favorite
that
iteration
is-
of it.
So fucking bonkers to me, because I think that is the worst Spider-Man series, and the reason it didn't get a third one is because it was unanimously the worst Spider-Man.
I'm sorry. He's the best Peter Parker. I'm sorry about it. That's just kind of my
You just like
idea.
that
of
he
it.
makes his web shooters, don't you?
I mean, that's what he does, canonically.
Zone B
He-
lost.
In
The Tobey Maguire thing is fucking weird.
I guess
that's like,
yeah, that's true.
shut it
Anyway,
down.
we're getting
Shut it
sidetracked.
down.
We're getting sidetracked so aggressively. I'm going to do the next one because it's nice and easy. Because I mentioned it last time. The Elden Ring speedrun record is now under 7 minutes, which
That's
is
right.
pretty crazy.
It's still Distortion 2. He just absolutely beats his own record every couple of days at this point.
It's because zipping. If you don't know what zipping is in Elden Ring, it's where you can essentially stand in the spot, use like a special block, and like spam some buttons, and you essentially can teleport across the map. They find new zips.
Yeah, there's like the mega zip or something they've discovered.
Yeah, they're finding new
Zone
zips all the time. So
Zone
they stand in a
advantage
random
is
spot and
yours.
like spam, block, and push buttons, and then they just teleport across the map. And like you get lucky with the zips where you land like in a better spot, and you're like, oh, that was sick. And they're just finding new
Zone
zips.
C
So I
lost.
feel like this game is going to get broken. It's going to get broken again many times.
And I hate
Which
that,
is-
like, I'm perpetuating it by including these news stories, but this to me doesn't count. I understand that
Look at
there's
the,
I get all that. I just think it's garbage. Like, you should at least need to, I don't know, gather 2 shards. You know? Like, you shouldn't just be able to skip
well, they're
to...
beating the final bosses.
I know, it's like, technically it's correct, but it's also bullshit. Also total bullshit.
Alright, what's next?
Oh, Govinda.
Enemy
Sonic
has your
2 had the
dog.
biggest weekend opening for a video game movie of all time.
Zone
Does
C
that mean...
captured.
I think I'm going to see these movies. I haven't seen the first one. I think I might use some of this time here to just
Zone
watch them.
advantage is
in the
yours.
comfort.
I've seen the
They've
first one.
almost
It's fine. Like, it's a classic 6 out of 10. Like, it's fine. I had fun. It wasn't... I don't remember anything that happened. The only news to come out of this for me is that Jim Carrey said he may retire from acting.
Oh, because of this or just...
No, just like he was like, I just think I'm done.
Alright.
And I was like,
So
that's
they've died.
fair, I guess. It's sad, but I did watch Dumb and Dumber last night, and it's just such a fucking classic.
Why would you watch that movie? Why?
Why not, dude? Why not? It's a classic.
You watch Borat after that?
Just
watch the original Borat.
in the noughties, dude. If it's not 1990s, I don't want to know about it.
Alright.
Next up, CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt. I don't know. Is it CD Projekt Red or CD Projekt?
The one that gets me is that it's CD Projekt Red. The project is spelled in the Polish manner with a K.
But then there's also Red Engine, which is their engine.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all very confusing. CD Projekt assures fans Cyberpunk expansion during the works. I don't know if anyone asked for it, and I don't know if anyone people did ask for it.
Actually, more than that, people have promised them. People have bought like the fucking season pass for this thing.
I honestly think I might have, but I just don't
This war is for
remember.
terrorists.
Yeah, I feel like you might as well. I think I remember that
So
conversation.
I would like the expansions that they promised. I will go back to it at some point for sure. I'm going to finish Horizon. Maybe that's going to be next in the single player works for me,
Yeah.
because I do have nothing else to play. But then there's also part of me where I'm like, it's going to get more stuff later, so maybe
It's
I just
true.
leave it. It's
I
a
think you
tricky it's a tricky one to play, so
They've apparently promised 2 full expansions, in addition to a bunch of free DLCs, some of which have already released.
I guess kind of equivalent to the Witcher expansions.
Yeah.
Like 2 pretty big meaty ones.
Those are fucking monstrous expansions. Blood and Wine is like, could be 40 hours on its own.
I'm still waiting for the PS5 version of The Witcher, and I've got my save ready to go, baby. I'm gonna just, we'll get right into that.
Balls deep. Alright, what else we got here, Govinda? Dying Light to get a new game plus mode. This one actually perked me up a little bit. I've been noticing, well, because I've been noticing a steady stream of updates coming to Dying Light, and my biggest issues with it was that it was fucking kind of janky. And if they can tighten it up a bit, and I'm still bored.
I was gonna say, you're like, oh, New Game Plus has perked me up. I'm like, New Game Plus, dude, you'd have to finish the game first.
Well, it just reminded me that they've been improving it this whole time. And also, the yawning chasm that is the rest of this year continues to stretch out before us. There are no video games coming out. I don't know how to reiterate this. We have so much time to play games.
Well, look, yeah, that's true. And I don't imagine anything's gonna get announced and released within the year. Like, it'll be announced and not released until years later. So that's fair. Because in my head, I was like, if we didn't have much to talk about today, I was like, we could go through all of the studios that haven't said anything.
Dude, don't
and see what
fucking
the rumors
spoil
are.
that. We're going to have to do that next week. Shit's going to be grim then too.
Well, there's a lot of studios. I just saw a tweet this week that said something like this, and this I haven't looked into this at all, so the number might be not 100% true. Take it with a grain of salt. But they said there's something like 14 studios under PlayStation stable that we don't know what they're doing.
What they're doing, yeah. It's crazy. It really is crazy.
Feels like they're brewing up for a big state of play that could just drop a lot of good stuff. I don't know. I feel like I'm waiting for the PlayStation experience to come back again one day.
Well, I mean, we should have talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Not pointing any fingers. But E3 isn't happening this year. So
wait. So really quickly, I just want to go through our jobs for this podcast. Who compiles the news each week?
I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw it too. I didn't tell you about it.
I know, it
but
just
I
didn't
guess
pop up. It's one of those things where you're like, yeah, I guess that is definitely relevant, but it also, I don't know, kind of slips the
E3's
mind.
dead. I don't think E3's happening ever again. I'm just gonna say.
No. Well, it's crazy that it's not even going to be digital.
Control.
They're not doing
No,
anything.
it's just not doing it. I think digitals don't do it. Like, if you're not going to do an actual conference, a convention, I don't really care about your digital one. Don't worry about it. And I think the PlayStation Experience should come back. And on the PlayStation Experience, really randomly, I did see an article from former
Capture and
head of
defend,
PlayStation,
Guardians.
Jack Tretton. I think it's Tretton.
I think it's Trenton.
He's like, well, I'll just say Jack Tron. Just say it real quick, you won't even know what I said. Where he said he wished Sony didn't give up on the Vita.
I did see that headline just as we started recording, actually.
And I wish that they didn't either. Actually, I do wish they did, but I wish they saw its promise and made a Vita 2 with 2 triggers and clicky sticks. That's all I
Get
want.
drawn into this conversation again. We all want the Vita, Govinda. Of course we do. We have hands.
Well, we don't all want them, but I definitely want one. 2 triggers, clicky sticks, or 4 back buttons, clicky sticks, no back touchpad. And that I'm happy with everything else that it was.
I love its form factor.
Zone
I
B.
love to rub
You
my
have
hands
zone
all over it.
advantage.
Get my fucking
Zone A
trophies
locked.
while I'm pooping.
Enemy
I
has
love
advantage.
everything about it.
Alright, Khayl, right after whatever you just said, it is time for the news we care about.
While launching a new game as a PlayStation Plus exclusive is usually a positive thing, sometimes that exclusivity can have the opposite effect. Case in point, Oddworld Soulstorm. Lorne Lanning, the head of studio Oddworld Inhabitants, described the exclusivity deal as being devastating for their team. The idea was that in January of 2021, the supply of PS5s out in the wild would still be relatively limited. Soulstorm would release as part of the service for the lucky few people that had PS5s, and then positive word of mouth would generate full price sales down the line. Enter COVID-19 and the delays that it entails. Delayed by 3 months, Oddworld released in April to a market that had expanded significantly. Oddworld Inhabitants expected 50 to 100,000 downloads in January. In April, however, Soulstorm accrued more than 4 million downloads. The fixed sum the studio received was not disclosed, but was based on that estimated 100,000 figure. You would best believe it would have been a hell of a lot less than 4 million sales. This was an interesting story, because you don't always... Of course we go to the Rocket Leagues of the world where this game becomes a fucking household name because it was free on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, it's also a bit more of a service game than Oddworld was.
It's true. It's just a strange story because I don't really know, like, even though that's the reasons that was given, that they didn't expect it to be that popular, you're like, alright, weird flex there.
Well, no, they didn't. They only were expecting 50 to 100k downloads in January because they didn't expect that many PlayStations to be out. Because PlayStation released in December, so you have 1 month worth of sales.
Yeah.
And the idea is the PS5 users would only have until the end of January to get the game. And then my issue with this is that they said, and then positive word of mouth would generate full price sales down the line. This game sucked. I think it was.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah, it wasn't great.
I think it was pretty clear that this game wasn't very good, and that people weren't going to play it and enjoy it. And then there was, I played it, and I didn't tell one person in the world.
No,
that
but
they should.
I guess that's kind of the flip side of this story, is because there wouldn't have been 4 million sales if it had.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, so it's kind of like a weird.
So if it were released in April to, let's say the pool of PlayStations was 4 million, of PS5s, like, they weren't going to sell one to everyone. The only reason they had 4 million downloads was because it was free and everyone who had it downloaded.
Exactly, it's kind of a weird framing. It's almost like they're trying to deflect from the fact that the game just didn't perform. Regardless of, like, the deals that were in place or whatever, like, critically it didn't perform. It's...
Look, would they have made more money had they not put on PlayStation Plus? Maybe. Like, they might have. Because if they were basing it on 100,000, they'd probably, just on the name alone, just because of Abe's Odyssey and Oddworld and whatever, they might have sold more, for sure. But they would have sold copies of this after January, for sure.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, I just think that it's a bit of, kind of a shitty game.
Lorne Lanning used the term devastating for the effect this had on the team. Like, just... I think the smart money is they definitely lost out. Like, whatever they took for this agreement was fucking chump change.
For sure, and for sure they probably lost out, definitely. But I think that they're putting this in a light that they made a very good game that got devastated by being on PlayStation Plus, where really they just made a pretty mediocre game that was generally not... unfortunately, they delayed it, which... I guess you can blame COVID, but also maybe they should have had a plan where, like, hey, we're delaying this 3 months, we're going to pull out a PlayStation Plus. Like, I don't...
I'm such a fucking fence sitter. I'm sitting here, like, debating myself almost. Like, so on the other side of the fence, you could also make the argument that Oddworld is legendary. in the world
No,
of PlayStation.
incorrect. Abe's Odyssey is
Exactly.
legendary.
Which is part of the Oddworld franchise.
Yeah, it's true, but like, what's the last...
No,
what's-
it is.
No. What's the last Abe's Odyssey Oddworld game that sold a shitload of copies? It would have been 1 or 2.
No, there was a re-release for PS3, which I believe
Yeah, of
was
the
called,
same game.
It was called Oddworld New and Tasty.
Yeah, but it's a
Yeah.
re-release of Abe's Odyssey.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but in that regard, it's like the fucking HD versions of Final Fantasy X. It's the same game. It's just, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
that's how
So
you make
it
that
sold
money.
because of nostalgia, not because
Which
it was
is-
a good game.
Which is exactly my point. Why I think you could have expected it to sell a little better just on, like, Aaron loves Abe. For whatever reason, like, some people are just nostalgic for this thing.
So I challenge that as well, where I don't think people actually do like Abe's Odyssey. I think they're just like, I liked it when it was one of the only games I could play on my PS1.
Yes.
And now that there's all these other games I can play, if I actually got given this game, I wouldn't finish it or play it. that much.
Specifically, and this is a deep pull, I'm mostly certain that the first Abe's Odyssey was a part of a very popular demo disc. And that's what people remember. They remembered like the first 2 levels of it. They're like, I love this.
It was so hard.
But they
You
never
actually played
bought
the
it.
full game.
Not only did I buy it, Govinda, my older brother and I saved all the fucking Medokins. That's right, Medokins. That's what they were called, the little chanty party dudes. You save them all, you get the secret
all
ending.
of them.
That's a power.
Yes, 100. We fucking did that shit. You get the
Now
secret
that's
ending. It's
Brutal.
awesome.
That is brutal. Because that
Awesome.
game gets, especially towards the end, it gets so hard.
It does. It does. But we had a lot of free time.
Anyway, I call bullshit. I don't know. Just don't release it then. Like, if you were going to delay it 3 months, maybe that's just call the PlayStation and be like, hey, we're not going to make it. We're out of PlayStation.
Govinda, you know that I'm on a never-ending journey to make every fandom hate us and this show, and thus deny us every opportunity in the world. I think I could have
You're
gone
in the
harder
lead.
on Sonic, but
3 minutes.
that
You're
community
winning.
does kind of
Stay
intimidate me a
strong.
little bit.
No, I think
little
Sonic
bit.
games are average, but I just don't have the nostalgia for it. You know,
Well,
that's what it is.
In the spirit of burning bridges, here's our next story. Kingdom Hearts 4 was announced during the 20th anniversary live stream of the
Enemy has
franchise,
advanced.
along with several other unnecessary and irrelevant Kingdom Hearts adjacent properties. Kingdom Hearts 4 appears to be set in the real world, and we see gameplay in what appears to be Tokyo. The most groundbreaking aspect of the reveal is that Sora's feet are regular size and not the clown shoe shit you bunch of weebs have been lusting over these past 2 decades. Sora, Donald, and Goofy are back for a brand new adventure in what Square Enix calls an epic new storyline named The Lost and Faster. Boom! You think I'm excited for this game?
Square Enix also announced a separate game, Kingdom Hearts: The Missing Link, in development for Android and iOS, which I believe is fully
Don't see
part
lost.
of the
Enemy
canon
has
that is
zoned
the
it up.
clusterfuck of Kingdom Hearts.
Now we'll just be up front. I'm not a Kingdom Hearts fan. There was a time where I liked the first game really, the second game a little bit, and then there's this garbage, this fucking expanded universe shit that you're about to read through in exhaustive detail.
Alright, so
And that's where they lost me.
right off the bat, Kingdom Hearts 1 is like Final Fantasy X to me. It is like this.
It's a moment in time.
It's a moment in time, and I hear the music, and it makes me like get a little teary. Like it just brings back such memories of me being a child playing this game, and I love it dearly. Kingdom Hearts 2, very much enjoyed it. It was a great game. I had a good time with it, but it felt like I was a little bit lost because there was a game between it on DS that I didn't have and I didn't play, and I had to catch up and pick up what was doing. Since Kingdom Hearts 2, this franchise has been butchered.
I couldn't tell you who this
1
is
minute.
for. Like, there's
I don't
so
even
much
know anymore.
shit in here that is just, like, unacceptable. It's just, like, got nothing to do with the core story. And then you even, like, get back
The crazy
to...
thing is, it does, Khayl.
But it adds unnecessary adjacent shit. And then you get back to 3 and you're just like, what the fuck is this? This is not even the same people anymore.
So I've got a couple lists here, and I don't know which one to choose, and maybe you can help me. So I've got a list of all Kingdom Hearts titles in chronological order. So in the order I guess you should probably play them in,
I think
or I
you've
have
got
a list
to...
of Kingdom Hearts titles in release order.
It's got to be release order, because who knows the chronology of this shit? It's irrelevant.
This person on Reddit does, and that's where I got this list. So in release order, and this is what got me, right? You got Kingdom Hearts, fucking
10
OG classic.
seconds.
That game
Bring it home,
lives
Guardians.
on in my
Well
heart
fought
forever.
victory.
The reason I'm not heartless is because of Kingdom Hearts.
Do you think anyone ever thinks about like the fact that Donald Duck just has this weird little duck dick out for everyone? Like you can't see
Okay,
it.
stop it.
But it's there.
Children, stop it. I got one into the list and you interrupted me already. So we've got Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, which I didn't play, and that's why Kingdom Hearts 2, which came out after it, was a little bit confusing to me. And now let me tell you why Kingdom Hearts 3 was a little bit confusing to me, Khayl, because between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, we had Kingdom Hearts Coded, Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days,
That's the
Kingdom
good
Hearts
shit.
Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance, Kingdom Hearts X, I guess you would call it Chi.
It's actually Cross.
Cross
Chi.
Chi. Okay, cool. And then there's Kingdom Hearts Unchained Cross, Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, Kingdom Hearts Cross Black Cover, Kingdom Hearts Union Cross that leads us into Kingdom Hearts 3. And then in theory we're going to have Kingdom Hearts Missing Link and then Kingdom Hearts 4. What the fuck? And
It's
let me tell you,
wild.
none of these are on the same console, really. Like, you've got like 3DS in there, you've got some mobile games in there. Like, what happened?
My favorite subgenre of YouTube videos, because I got sucked in. I got hit by the nostalgia. When Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I bought it at full price. I played it for like 2 hours. It was a waste of my money, but in an attempt to be ready for it, before it came out, I started watching these YouTube videos and it's like Kingdom Hearts Story Explained, getting you ready for Kingdom
You
Hearts
have to.
3.
That's what I was doing.
And the amount of people that like come out there and they're like, all right, the story, it's not that complicated. Here's what happens. And it's like it's like an 80-minute video. And they're so far down the rabbit hole, they don't even understand that it's insanity.
And they're jumping back and forth between timelines and games.
They're talking
and
about
stuff because it's the only
nobodies
way.
and fucking shadows and fucking nobodies'
Fucking
bodies.
Roxas
And
Zenmus, who is Xehanort and also Ansem. Like, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? This game has been absolutely butchered by themselves. And I don't, my thinking is like, is there a deal with Disney where they're like, you must release 15 games between, like, whose idea was this?
well, this is actually getting to the heart of the fuckery, and I don't even know what the point of this story is anymore,
Show
but we're
your
really
enemy
drilling
this
down
place
into
belongs
something
to you
essential
now.
here.
Well, the
think
point of the story quickly is they just announced Kingdom Hearts 4 and then it led into this fuckery, but continue.
the sort of like Disney
Enemy claims
domination
Zone C.
era sort of lines up with this, because I can't remember when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, but let's say like the late noughties, the early 2010s. That's when Disney really started fucking gearing up. We talked about this. Oh no, I think I pointed this out. I can't even remember. But the fact that the way I got into this series was that Cloud and Squall were in Kingdom Hearts. There are no Final Fantasy characters in Kingdom Hearts 3 at all. That was the fucking way they got me. And now it's just this weird Disney propaganda. It's just like advertising movies I've never seen and don't understand in service of a story that is so far off the rails, I can't even catch up anymore.
But the worst part now is that, like, with every game in this franchise, it seems like they are losing their identity more and more. Like, now we're in the real world. Sora is wearing essentially a suit with 3/4 capri suit pants. He doesn't have his big shoes. I'm like, what? Why is the world black and white? Like, this trailer looks like everything is black and white. They call it something else. I can't remember what they call it, but like, it just doesn't even look like it doesn't even look like a Kingdom Hearts game at this point, other than that someone is swinging a key around and the health and MP dials are exactly the same.
It certainly has like a visual style, but yeah, you're right. It's because there's a built-in group of people that are going to buy the fucking prequel novel and get involved there, and just so much money to be made here.
The thing that I like the most is, especially when I first played Kingdom Hearts, is like, I'm a child and like there was these cool like, oh, I'm in Tarzan world, I'm in like Jack Skellington Nightmare Before Christmas world and all this stuff, and now I'm just in Tokyo, essentially. And that doesn't interest me.
Tokyo's pretty cool.
No, but there's enough games in Tokyo, dude.
I tell you that
I'll go play Persona.
Did I ever tell you that I lived in Japan? Or like, no, does that never come
You
up?
didn't live in Japan. There's actually not, and you've never
I
lived
think,
there, which we know definitively because you didn't pay tax.
Double down.
That's how I define it. You had an elongated holiday there, same with when you were in Thailand. You didn't pay any tax, so you technically didn't live there. So anyway, let's continue on with our story. The one thing that I think is interesting is the way they phrased it. What do they call it? Square Enix called it an epic new storyline. So does this mean that they're starting from the 15 games they had previously, and they're just kind of starting something again, but they're still calling it Kingdom Hearts 4? Like what does that even mean?
I mean, that's just what franchises do. I mean, that's exactly what's happening with this new Witcher game, which, coincidentally, we should say both the new Witcher and Kingdom Hearts 4 are also being developed on Unreal Engine 5.
And as well as the Tomb Raider game being announced.
Yeah,
Which is interesting. Everything's going to be on Unreal Engine 5 if it's a new project at this point, because it is the next step, and they do some pretty nice shit.
I think it's more just about the marketing. Like, you know, it's the same with The Witcher. There will be touchstones, but it's a totally new story. That's all that is, I think.
Well, I guess so. An epic new storyline. Because I would almost be so down for them to just be like, we're starting again.
It's just...
We're going to release Kingdom Hearts again, I guess.
It's funny, because now I'm having flashbacks to when I played the first two Kingdom Hearts games. And I think we were in our teens. We're probably not exactly children. We're probably like 15 or 16.
Yeah, look, I would have been... Because it came out after Final Fantasy X, so I would have been like 9th grade and up.
Maybe I'm just jaded now, but I remember it definitely thinking it was cool that there was something called a Keyblade Master, and that man was Mickey Mouse. And I thought getting to see him fight was going to be the coolest thing. And then you do get to see it. And it was basically like when you get to see Yoda fight. Like, what? What's happening?
Why are you flipping around so much? Anyway, I'm sad about what happened to this game series, but I guess it is what it is, and some people will love it, and I know someone's going to message me about this at some point. Someone
There's
very
going to be
specific is going to message me about this.
This is going to be
how that
upsetting.
the story actually makes a whole lot of sense. If you just
And they're gonna link you to an 80-minute YouTube video. It's gonna... I will say, I think this is correct, but I think a lot of people were very unhappy with how Kingdom Hearts 3 ended. Does that sound like something you've seen? Again,
No,
I'm not involved.
If I'm being honest with you, I played that entire game.
Did you?
Start to finish. Yeah, I finished Kingdom Hearts 3.
I didn't know
I
that.
couldn't tell you what happened. I could tell you maybe a couple of the worlds I went to, but probably not all of them. The problem with Kingdom Hearts 3 is that I didn't see Big Hero 6, so I didn't watch that movie, but I'm doing shit with the people in it, so I don't connect with them at all. So I don't know, it just didn't hit me the same, and I finished it and I was like, okay, well I'm good with that now. Never again.
Never will I think of that again until my fucking podcast covers it years later and I have to dredge all this shit up.
Really quickly, I think Square Enix is bad at games now. Is that fair to say?
I think that's a real statement. And it's hard too, because they made some of my favorite video games. Like,
let's distinguish something really quickly. Is Squaresoft made some of the best video games? Square Enix, I don't know. I don't know if they have.
maybe this is where a lot of the fuckery began, because there does seem to be a lot of like mobile acquisitions. There's just a lot of...
So, just to clarify, Kingdom Hearts, OG Kingdom Hearts was made by Square, or Squaresoft in North America.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy X was Square, Final Fantasy 11, like a lot of the best
You're
games.
kind of right.
Final Fantasy Tactics came from Squaresoft.
The last Final Fantasy game I loved was 12.
Final Fantasy 9 was Squaresoft. Dude, like all of the best Final Fantasies and everything all came from Squaresoft, and I feel like as soon as it became Square Enix, things just kind of started falling apart, and that's my lukewarm take
I actually
of
think
the episode.
that puts a pretty nice bow on it, because, I mean, it wasn't all bad, like I said earlier. I liked Tomb Raider, comes out of the Square Enix era, but other than that, there's Deus Ex, a bit of Hitman.
Yeah, in terms of like, well, even Deus Ex, I didn't personally love it. I know a lot of people did, but Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross with both Squaresoft, like, I feel like that was their heyday, and as soon as they merged, it just kind of, you know.
I will also say, I'm on the Wikipedia page right now. There's a lovely picture of the Square Enix headquarters, a building I've actually visited, Govinda, when I lived in Japan. Anyway, Govinda, get us the fuck out of here.
Alright, well anyway, I stand by it. Square Enix, you suck. This has been episode 45 of Long Live Play. I have been me. Khayl has been him, I believe. Can't confirm or deny. Please follow us on all of the things if you would like to. We do post this episode on YouTube as a video. It's probably going to be more Elden Ring gameplay because Khayl has made a Batman build.
Yes, I have. I haven't actually decided on that, whether we're actually going to do that, but look, maybe you'll get a little a little Robert Pattinson cosplay.
Maybe it's going to be Destiny
Did you
gameplay.
show the
Who even
darkness
knows? You
what
can watch us
light
just
can
get
do?
thrashed by this one dude again and again and again. It can be a lot of fun. Anyway, that's us. Goodbye.
Until next time.
Now more than ever.